Inside Natural Bodybuilding is presented by MTS Nutrition, Fit Body U, Chosen Athletic Apparel, and TigerFitness.com. Now here's your host, Mike Superhuman Newman.
So the more coverage the sport of natural bodybuilding gets, the better. Okay. The more commentators we have out there, the better. You know, some of us can't make it to 25, 30 shows. I can make it to my little handful of shows. I cover the shows that I go to. But I think it'd be great if we had more commentators. There's a bunch of them out there that cover shows. You got Samantha Steinberg, to name a few others. But I got a guest tonight who's been covering the sport of physique competition for quite a few years now. And she's stayed consistent over the years. So you see some that might start a podcast and a few months later it kind of fizzles out. Not many keep it up year after year after year, year in, year out, and keep you updated on what the latest is and what the greatest is on the sport of natural bodybuilding, on top of keeping you updated with who to watch for when it comes to bikini, figure, women's physique, classic physique, men's physique. We need more people to stay on top of it, right? So if you're not judging, if you're not expediting, but you're going to be at a show anyway, you might as well get a camera, start interviewing some competitors, and put it all together, because the more information you can get out there about natural bodybuilding competitions around the nation, the better, the more coverage our sport can get. So tonight, I got a very special host. We're going to talk all about it right here, right now. You know the views on bodybuilding and physique competition. We're going to know the one behind the curtain here in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. I'm Mike Newman, and this is Inside Natural Bodybuilding. All right, so our guest tonight has done more than just competed in physique competition. She's worked in all aspects of the game. She's tried her hand at judging. She's involved in public relations. She's a marketing director. She does a lot of things. So she's got the niche to do what it takes to help the sport grow. And that's what she's been doing. She's been co-hosting Midwest Muscle with Kaylin Patterson for years and years now, since I've been around. So we're going to talk about it all here right now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show for the first time. She is Desiree Fletcher Caruthers. Come on, Desiree.
Hey, hey, Mike. Thanks so much for having me. I was listening a little bit to your intro, and I just absolutely love what you just said. The more people that we can have promoting natural athletes and natural bodybuilding, the better. I mean, I don't think that you can have enough.
Yeah, because there's so many different organizations out there, and I typically mainly cover shows that I know I'm going to be at, and I only make it to a handful of shows every year. I know Kaylin goes to more shows than I go to, and you probably go to at least half those shows with him, but you guys are always covering something, and you've been consistent over the years, too. I've seen a lot of podcasters in natural bodybuilding come and go, but not many have stuck around for more than just a few months. When did you and Kaylin start Midwest Muscle, and how did you get involved with it?
Well, you know, Kaylin actually was with Midwest Muscle before I even came into the picture, and it so happens that we bumped into each other at a bodybuilding competition. I was there supporting a friend. He was actually competing, and I think it was the Titan Classic here in Des Moines back in the day. And we just happened to start talking, and then I was a guest on the show, and then next thing I know, I'm part of Real Talk with Desiree and Kaylin, and that's probably been going on about 5 years now. So yeah. And we still haven't run out of things to talk about.
Yeah, so you were just in the right place at the right time, and that's how sometimes an opportunity presents itself. You know, it's like if you're ready for an opportunity, then you'll know it when it falls in your lap. You know, kind of like Tara the Hatcher Thatcher. She was in the right place at the right time at the Natural Olympia a couple of years ago. Met Mark Torriello. Next thing you know, she's head judging the Mr. America. So come on now, right place, right time, talking to people and just being there.
Yep.
See where the action is. Yeah, no, actually, I remember we started that Midwest Muscle. Back before Inside Natural Bodybuilding, I was doing Midwest Muscle with Kaylin, and it wasn't too far. It just kind of evolved. It started off just carrying my little flip video camera to shows with me. I'm like, I'm going to be at a show, and I'm not doing anything anyway. I might as well interview competitors. And I set up the interview, flipped the video camera, put it up on YouTube, and it really didn't have a name of the show. And I actually rated the Kalen not too long after that. It's kind of evolved, and every show I was at, he was at, it just kind of happened. You know what I mean? So, but then I wanted to cover more than just the Midwest. I'm like, I'm going to cover shows outside of the Midwest. I got to do something different. So, Kalen, you take this Midwest muscle. I'll go start inside natural bodybuilding. And so now we're just kind of evolving and making corrections on the go. Pretty much is how that happens.
Yeah, and I think that's awesome. And I've definitely, I mean, I have watched you through the years as well, and just continue to, keep track. Because I feel like, the way Midwest Muscle has gone is we are kind of like the behind the scenes story, and you have really taken the nitty gritty, dissecting the onstage performance to the next level at each competition. And so it's really just continues to blossom. So I love it. I think it's great.
I like what you just said, dissecting the athletes as they're on stage, because that's pretty much what you got to do as a judge. I mean, if you're in the audience 15 rows back, you're not exactly dissecting. You're just kind of rooting for your friend or family member to win, and you're wondering why they lost if they get third or fourth place. You don't know that the judges are looking for symmetry, front to back, top to bottom. They look different under the lights. When it's really super close, the symmetry comes into play, and who looks better from the back, who's got hamstrings, who doesn't. You got to really pick apart certain things, especially when you get to the top level, when you're comparing pros together. And they're both great world champions, but you got to pick something, because somebody needs second and somebody needs first. Yep. I've had that experience before.
Yes, exactly. I mean, judging is this whole new world, and it's a whole other world, I would say. And I really didn't have an appreciation for how tough that role can be until I actually stepped into it. So I really appreciate the judging aspect of it, and head judges who are moving everybody around on stage, making sure that they get their fair time. But then also what you do, because not everybody judges and critiques at the same time like you do. And to do that when you're in the moment, like looking at it right then and there, not having to try to recall what you saw like the other day or a week ago. I mean, that's when you really get, from the athlete's perspective, you really get the most beneficial input, because you're just talking live, talking it there. The rest of us are taking notes, right? But we're taking notes, scoring. You're taking notes, scoring. You've got audio notes. And that's, if the athletes go back and listen to that, they're going to hear, this turn, this is what I see. This turn, and I feel like more of that happen across the board. Not to steal your thunder, because there's only one Mike Superhuman Newman, as Kalen calls you, but really I find that just to be very helpful to athletes.
Yeah, well, it's only fair to the athletes. You got to because you really got to judge them fairly, because they diet 4 to 6 months, maybe even more. So they got to be fairly judged. And when they walk off that stage, they need to have the confidence that they got their rightful placing. And if a judge is going to give a competitor a certain placing, he should be able to explain it. And yeah, there's a big difference in your mindset when you're at the judges' table as opposed to 15 rows back. Because at the National Olympia, I was about 15 rows back, and I just wasn't judging the same. I was more casual. It wasn't as important. I knew my score didn't count. I didn't always finish my placings before they filed off stage. So it wasn't the same thing. When you're at the judges' table, it's your job to judge them, and the competitors are relying on you to be fair with the judging, and you got to get it right, especially when it's for money or prestigious title. When they're dependent on you for that, you just got to critique them as much as you can. And then if they could be better, you got to be able to give them some valuable feedback, not just, you need better conditioning or more muscularity.
Yes.
Let's get descriptive about it so they can really know what to work on. And if they're willing to get on a stage in front of 500 people in a two-piece or posing trunks, they should be able to take that criticism. There's a lot of competitors who don't really take it very well. Some take it better than others. Have you had that experience where you try to critique a competitor and they just can't believe what you're telling them because they think they were just perfect and should have won?
I've seen that, yes, and I've heard that. Have I had that like one-on-one? I have to say I've had the privilege of most of the athletes that I've had the opportunity to talk with right after competition, because not all athletes take advantage of that, which I really want to say, any athletes that are out there listening to this now, please do. Please stop, take the time, wait around, talk to the judges. If you're really wanting to improve for the next show, please do that. But every athlete I've spoken with has been gracious. But I've interviewed some athletes after the fact that were not very gracious, and just heard them after the fact. And, there's always a reason. There is always a reason. And if you're willing to take constructive criticism, then you're going to improve. And that's how you have longevity in the sport.
Yeah. And you were just talking about how competitors should talk to the judges after the show. That's a big one because you want to get their words and their feedback. I like doing the live videos that way, I'm talking live, but when I do the review after the show, I can really get into it instead of just writing down a sentence while I'm judging on a scrap piece of paper next to their name. So when they mail in their $5 for the criticisms, all they get is a one-liner. It doesn't really tell them much. I like to really break it down, but when the competitors are at a show, like you're at the Minnesota Mayhem, okay, right next door is the after party, Old Chicago. Competitors need to go to Old Chicago, go to the after party, and use that party to talk to the judges. Drink some beer, eat some pizza, talk to the judges. A lot of competitors don't always do that, but that's like you're out of town anyway, typically. It's a fun hangout. It's a fun after party. You get to meet and greet the competitors and judges and pros, whatever. So go to the after party and talk to the judges if you're going to be out of town anyway and you're going to go to the show and go through all that work. Get that valuable feedback. So what do you think is your favorite job in body? You've competed, you've judged. Have you ever expedited a show before?
I have not expedited a show before. So that's one thing that I haven't done. I have competed. I have done, my favorite part of it is just talking to the athletes afterwards or on Real Talk with Desiree and Kaylin, because I've actually done both, competed and interviewed, which is really hard to keep your focus. But I think that's my favorite part. Judging to me is kind of stressful because I just want to make sure that I get it right, as much as possible, given, really close calls. And sometimes you're right. You just have to get down to the nitty gritty on it. And it is minuscule things that sets athletes apart sometimes. But competing, I do love. I caught the bug and I just kind of just never looked back on that one. So really, I would say I love the athletes first and foremost. Secondly, being on stage would be my favorite.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I like talking to the athletes too, because somebody's got to cover the sport. There's only a very few people that actually cover the sport and go to shows and help these videos on a regular basis. And people want to get to know the competitors and the person behind the curtain there when they're competing on stage. So when you and Kaylin get your guests, how do you go about? Is it your job to get the guests? Is it Kaylin's job to get the guests? How do you go about getting the guests? And how do you determine who's going to come on your show?
We both work on getting guests, and a lot of times it's driven by shows that are coming up and or that they've competed in. So we like to give due to the athletes that have won or have placed relatively high. Not to say that we don't cover athletes that, just competed. Story. I like to try to mix of those who have won. We like to make it a mix of amateurs and pros, but then also that just have a really good backstory of how they came into natural bodybuilding, obstacles that they've overcome, and just, have that motivational light about them that other people can, relate with. And sometimes it all just depends on the aspect of natural bodybuilding that we're covering, because sometimes we like to cover couples that compete together, or just, someone who maybe not is going to get on stage, but they're very supportive of their athlete. And so other athletes and their either family member or spouse can hear like, okay, we've gone through this. This is what we can experience. Maybe they've gone through a health issue. Maybe, exercise, wellness, and fitness helped save their life and then led them to natural bodybuilding. And now they're just blowing up the stage. So really, it just all depends on the show and the backstory, and then availability plays a lot into it, because sometimes we got folks lined up and they're not there. So then sometimes we have to punt, right?
Yes,
that happens.
I've dealt with that a lot. That always happens. And then you got to struggle to find a last minute guest. Sometimes you can find one, sometimes you can't, but not everybody can interview with the drop of a dime sometimes. So if you don't get that notice, I can totally understand that for sure. And you were talking about couples earlier. It's important to have that support by the spouse. Even if the spouse does not work out or does not compete, those who do have the spousal support are more successful than those who don't, obviously. Some have it better off than others do. So let's talk about the support you've seen with some of the couples you've interviewed over the years.
Oh, it's really amazing. I'm going to blank on names right now, and they'll probably come to me after we've moved past this topic. But, there are, take Courtney Spaeth, for instance.
Yes. Oh, my God, yes.
Right now, tearing up the stage. Just every category she's in, she is killing it. And she gives so much credit to her husband, because he preps all of her meals for her. He helps her in her side businesses. Now they're venturing into trying to promote a show if they can get some things going despite this crazy environment that we're in. Yeah. And so, he's with her 100%. And there's another couple that comes to mind. They're both competing at the same time. And, you know, they are just awesome because they're still hanging in there, love each other, but they also know the ups and downs of the sports. And so they shared tips like, you know, writing notes to each other to post on the refrigerator, like, be nice to your spouse today, you know, and that's for both of them. So they've been able to, you know, tackle the hard parts of competing as a couple and still really make it work because of the mutual love and respect. And when I think of their name, I'll share it, but it's just great stories like that. And then you have siblings and parents and aunts and uncles and friends. And those people are important because you know what, as you alluded to, not everybody has a support base. They don't have it. They can still get it done and they can still perform well, but I think it's still so much more of a fulfilling experience when you do have that support, and you're going to be able to have better longevity in the sport when you do have that support.
Yeah, definitely. Nothing worse than having somebody who can drag you down or cramp your style. But let's talk about some support that you have. You got married to Corey, 2017. You married Corey. How did you and Corey, I only met Corey one time, didn't get your backstory, but how did you two meet and how did it blossom into the marriage you have now?
Well, long story short, or short story long, we met on social media is the short story. But our paths had been crossing for many years before then. Our kids had gone to the same preschool and kindergarten. We had lived in the same neighborhood, so kind of would see each other coming and going. We belonged to the same gym, but you know, when I'm in the gym, I'm kind of like a earphones on, not making eye contact kind of gal. And Corey's one of those, if you don't have earbuds in, I'm going to talk to you. So our jam wasn't really the same, but we just kept seeing each other. And then one day he friended me on Facebook and we haven't stopped talking since.
Really? So before he friended you on Facebook, you didn't even kind of think, because you go to the gym, you're in your own world, do your own thing, you're not there looking around. So you didn't really think of him in that light until he sent you that friend request.
Yep.
It just kind of hit you. So it wasn't like it was the first time you seen him. You knew of him,
I knew
but and he sent the friend request. Did he say something that made you open your eyes like, maybe this guy has a little something that I might want, you know, that you've seen then that you didn't see before? What was the big change?
You know, I saw his friend request and I was like, oh yeah, I know who that is. So I accepted. And then like, maybe that was earlier in the day. And then later that evening, he sent me a direct message and was like, hey, Desiree, and blah, blah, blah. And he was commenting. Many of you might recognize the name of the business, and it was custom printed on the back. It says, Jesus is my superhero. Yeah. And he's like, you know, I really like that. That's what caught my attention. And it just kind of went from there. Wow.
So he just didn't waste any time, because some guys play it cool. They get the friend request. Then, well, better wait 3 days or a week or whatever. Don't want to think, you know, but he's like, I'm not wasting no time. I know what I want. I'm going to get it. I'm going to mess through tonight, you know, and then boom, just like that. Okay, well, that's pretty cool. Where was your first date at?
Our first date was actually, we went for a walk around a lake.
A walk. Okay, that's nice. Better than dinner. Because dinner and a movie, you can't do dinner and a movie, but a walk is nice.
The walk is good. We went to dinner after, and then we took in a live concert, and that was kind of our first date. But before then, so this is kind of funny, or at least I think it's funny. I knew he was a bird. I knew he was a taxidermist. I didn't really have the ins and outs of what that was. So that, you know, the lake and the dinner and the concert was our first date, but I had actually met him before that because I asked if I could come see what he did, because I knew if there was like no way that I could get past what he did, there's just no point. Carrying it on. So I needed to understand a little bit more about what taxidermy was all about and, you know, what I could potentially be getting into. So I went and saw it. It was still very foreign to me, still, you know, a little creepy, but then it wasn't as bad as I thought. It's actually much cleaner than I thought. And, you know, my perception of taxidermy, I didn't really have one. I knew they existed. I knew, you know, what they did. They stuffed dead animals, right? Yeah. But I didn't know anything about it. And it's just really a very involved industry, like mind blowing, you know, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I've seen some of his work. He looks like a champion bird taxidermist, though. I mean, from what I've seen, it looks like he's really good at what he does. And do you know how he got started? Like, has he been doing that since he was a kid, or do you know how he got into that? I'm just curious.
Yeah, his dad was actually a hobbyist taxidermist, but Corey has actually been working for other taxidermists since about age 10. So he really was a prodigy in his art. And he's got over 33 years of experience and more than that. And it has just spent a lot of time understanding birds. He only does birds, but just their structure, skeletal structure, muscle movement, all of that kind of stuff, how they look in nature. And, that's just, and he's able to translate book knowledge into art.
Wow, it is art. That's what it is art too. Well, what kind of customers does he attract? Just customers that, is it their own birds or just a bird that they really like that they want to hang up in their home? Or what kind of customers does Corey generally get?
He's got customers from all walks. I mean, men and women, they're all hunters, young, old. He gets kids, 15, 10, younger. A lot of times their parents will want to mount their first
the
first bird that they got, or
it's like a trophy.
Yep, trophies. That's exactly what it is. That's the right term. And they come, they're all, some of them are like really serious hunters. Some of them are hobby hunters and they're going on a once in a lifetime trip. So he gets all different kinds of birds.
Yeah, I know there's some taxidermist. There's some fans out there, because when I'm watching American Pickers, I always see some of that, and it goes for some big money. And I seen a stuffed elephant and a stuffed cheetah, and just stuffed everything, but big money there. Okay, well, that's what Corey does. So you do something totally different. What do you do exactly? I see you got a long resume. I didn't want to go through everything, but I know you got some marketing, directing experience, public relations experience. You worked at Anytime Fitness for a short time. So let's talk about that and what your experience has been outside of bodybuilding.
Long story short, I spent many, many years in public relations, both on the agency and then also in corporate America. And I owned my own gym for several years, or 3 gyms actually, as part of the Anytime Fitness franchise. And that's basically been, the long and short of it. So public relations, many years, gym ownership, training, all that kind of stuff for about 10 years, back into PR after I sold my last gym. And then, I work now for a chiropractor, and I'm able just to bring together my passion for health and wellness and marketing and public relations in one. And so that's what I do now. So I do a lot of, marketing, public relations, public speaking. Of course, we're kind of in flux now. We're still on, but not as consistently as we used to be. But, twice a week, pretty much for 5 years, just talking about natural bodybuilding and health in general, because sometimes we have just some straight health shows. And then I also have a little nutrition show on a local Christian station called Temple Building from the Inside Out. So just really love getting the message out there, because good health is not something that we're guaranteed. We have to work at it. And, I want more people to jump on that bus.
Yeah, definitely sounds good stuff. Plenty to talk about. I host these podcasts, David Letterman style. I know if some of you have been following along for quite some time, you already get it, but I don't plan any of these questions. I just ask a question, I listen to her answer, then based off her answer, I ask the next question, right? So Anytime Fitness, 3 gyms. I didn't know you own 3 Anytime Fitness locations.
Yeah.
And I like to get the answer for the first time live too. That way the fans get to hear it at the same time as I do.
I'm a little scared.
Yeah. So how did you get into Anytime Fitness? Was that always a dream of yours to own a gym? And what made you ended up doing a franchise?
It was not. It was my ex-husband, to tell you the truth, because I have to give credit where credit is due, right? And he came home one night and he was all surprised, and he's like, I got us something. I got you something. I'm like, what is it? And I come home and he holds up this little piece of plastic. And it's a gym key, right? Because Anytime Fitness was a 24/7 gym. Very new concept back when we were getting into it. In fact, Anytime was only in like its first or second year when we came on as franchisees. And just got really excited about the concept from there. So, within a year, we were on the hook for 3 territories, and we opened 3 gyms. And then, long story short, life, divorce, blah, blah, blah. I had the gyms for several years after we were divorced, and then just ended up selling and moving on for different reasons. But yeah, that's what got me into it. I never, ever thought that I would be an entrepreneur, if you will, because most people are raised to get a good job. Very few people are raised to start your own job, right? And you can appreciate that as a young woman. So, just things just kind of, like you said, being in the right place at the right time. And it just led to a whole career shift and new life focus. And I never would have even imagined that that's where I would have headed, or that I would be sitting here right now talking to you about this history and all the things that I'm doing now around health and wellness.
Yeah, very interesting stuff. And yeah, I could always fill this hour up, but we might go over a little bit, but kind of want to dive into that more. So once you got the divorce, you got the gyms. Now, how did you guys go from one gym to 3 gyms? Did you get 3 gyms out of the gate, or did it go from one, then okay, let's open up a second, then a third, or how did that go from 1 to 3 gyms?
We knew we were going to open 3 gyms out of the gate, because when you entered into the Anytime Fitness franchise at that time, and still to this date, you have to purchase your territory, right? Because there are Anytime Fitness everywhere. It's international. It's still, it was and probably still is the fastest growing international health and wellness franchise that there was, period, point blank. And Anytime Fitness is a great organization. And so you purchased your territories outright, and that locked up your space. So at the time that we entered the franchise, we purchased 3 markets. Okay. And then you're on a development schedule from there.
Now, from what I've seen, there's so many Anytime Fitness Center locations, you can kind of have, like, I don't think they like you to have power racks, but you can if you'd like. You can add your own personality to it if you want. Some guys put chains in the gyms and stuff. But was there a certain protocol you had to follow, and a certain way you had to run the clubs to be a part of the Anytime Fitness franchise?
Yep. When we first started, the rules were a little more lax because they were still growing and figuring out who they were. Yeah. But they've always had a strong focus on, customer satisfaction. And so they wanted a reputation where all of their franchises would take place. You want a franchisee performing up here and then one performing down here. And so they wanted to bring everybody on the same place. So they started adding in more and more layers of requirements, if you will. So there is some equipment that you're not allowed to have as an Anytime Fitness franchise. And granted, it's been about 5 years since I sold the last club. So, things may have changed. They may have allowed more things to come in. But basically, by model, Anytime Fitness is a medium-sized club. They could be about. And there was equipment that you could have. They have preferred vendors where most franchisees purchase from. And there are probably some that have a few pieces that they're not supposed to have, but sometimes it's easier to ask for forgiveness later, depending on what the members are asking. If I could find a decent hack squat, I tell you what, I would be like, please. But to this day, Anytime Fitness is still my favorite gym environment.
Yeah, the hack squat. Yeah, we got a hack squat here at Fit Body U. A lot of gyms don't have hack squats.
No.
Out of the 10 fitness centers in my area, I got a hack squat, another personal training studio does, but the other 8 locations don't have nothing. What's your take on franchising versus just going at it on your own without paying the franchise's fee? Is it really worth it to pay the franchising fees? What do you think about that?
If you are not familiar with owning a gym or the fitness industry, I would say franchise is the way to go, because there are so many support mechanisms there to help you with financing, with your build out, with marketing, with training your staff, all of those things, all of that support is there. If fitness or a gym is a secondary business, say you're an entrepreneur and you're doing XYZ over here, but you want to have a gym, I think franchising is the way to go, because the model is already there and it's not going to take as much time and dedication. But if you're someone like you've been around it a long time, you've got the experience, and you have a clear vision for what it is you want your gym to be, then I say go for it. You don't need the franchise to hold you up.
Okay, yeah, good stuff. I like to hear that. And I think I need most help with systems. I mean, I'm just making corrections on the go. I didn't wait until things were perfect. I just got started making corrections on the go. I'm learning on the go. And so I'm kind of getting closer, but I can use all the help I need. I don't want to talk about Anytime Fitness forever, but I do got one more question. You mentioned selling the last club. So I guess you didn't sell all 3 of your clubs at the same exact time. No. Did you sell one by one by one? And what made you decide to sell them and then hold on to that last one for longer?
Um, you know, we did sell one at a time. The first one just because, um, hey, divorce.
Yeah,
Okay. And
it's
it
got
was
to happen.
and it was farthest away, and I was a single parent, and it was just what needed to be done, and then invest back in the other two. And then you know, it just as things progressed, it was just the decisions that needed to be made.
Yeah, and then you sold one at a time, and was it
Yep.
easy to find a buyer? You just find a member that wanted to get into the fitness business, or was
So
it
yeah,
hard to sell?
it wasn't hard. You know,
Okay.
I have to say for my market, for the Anytime Fitness franchise, we have several very good owners and franchisees, and you know, a couple of the clubs went to an owner that was looking to expand, and he just has a fantastic job with it.
Wow. Okay.
And so I think it just
Very
all depends on the market and the kind of club that you had to begin with, and
Yeah.
you know, the equity that was already built into it.
Good. See, that's one thing I didn't know you were a gym owner of Anytime Fitness. That's good stuff because I like to learn all I can. So I'm not a natural born businessman. I'm just learning on the go. It's my first business venture. I'm not. I don't think I would ever open a restaurant. Fitness center is pretty much the only thing I have confidence in running. But I want to be able to do it the best I can, and sometimes it helps to have questions like that answered. So thank you for that. Let's talk about what else you do. Are you still involved in public relations on a regular basis? What do you do there exactly?
They are, yeah. I'm the director of marketing for a chiropractic office. So I'm still doing that. One thing I'm going to totally flip the script on you though, because I want to
Okay.
get out there because I think this is important. But so as part of just health and wellness and, you know, supporting the natural bodybuilding community, Kaylin and I have recently partnered with Leif Anderson with the Natty Revolution, and we are putting out what we're calling the Transformation Division competition, and basically just trying to open it up and draw more attention to the division and get more people in it, as a means to, you know, just jumpstart health. COVID has been so hard on so many people. And sometimes people, not sometimes, a lot of times people need something to help them flip that switch, to help them move forward with the health and wellness goals that they have and that they want to succeed in, but they're just not getting there. It's either motivation, sometimes it's courage, sometimes it's timing, whatever it is, but just a really great opportunity to draw attention to this category because it is all about the journey about
Yeah.
health and wellness, and, you know, get people's butts moving. That I do not classified as essential from the go during COVID. They should have been, and they still should be. But get people exercise again and thinking about their health beyond a vaccine, beyond masks, beyond gloves. Get back to your innate natural immune system, strength, balance, healthy weight, whatever it is you're after. Let's get back to it and let's do it. And so if you want to know more about it, find me on Facebook and message me because I want to talk to you about it.
Find her on Facebook and message her. Are you Desiree Fletcher Caruthers on Facebook then? Is your full name on Facebook?
I am. That is my full name on Facebook. Or check out the Midwest Muscle Facebook page because we want to talk to you about it. And Leaf has even given us a discount to order that category to encourage people to get in it. So there really are no obstacles. Really are no obstacles.
Good stuff. No obstacles at all. And you're also an MC. A lot of people have a hard time getting up behind a podium and talking in front of 200 people, getting up on stage, talking, even just with a microphone, just a few words. But to you, it comes more natural. I'm sure you had your times in the beginning, you were nervous, but it was something you knew you were going to do. So if you know you're going to do it, just get out there and do it. And eventually it's not so bad anymore. How often do you MC shows, and do you MC any other events besides bodybuilding shows?
You know, I MC when asked. So I have been MCing probably about 1 or 2 shows pretty consistently after the 3 or 4 years, but it's not like something like I'm actively out there saying, hey, you need an MC?
Yeah,
but
right.
if someone comes to me and like, hey, Desiree, you know, can you help us out and fill the spot? I'd be like, yeah, sure, man, I've got you. I do, you know, not major events like that, but if there's like, you know, more of a corporate program, seminar, something like that, I do handle transitioning through those kinds of things and the ebb and flow of that. But yeah, so, and it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. It allows you just to, I don't know, be more fun and not as serious.
So how did you find out that you had a knack for public relations and marketing and getting behind a microphone and talking to people and getting in front of people and talking, public speaking? How did you know that you had a knack for that? And when did you figure that part out?
I don't ever think I knew I had a knack for it. I am just not afraid to walk through the door when opportunity knocks. So
Yeah.
whether I know I can or can't do something, it's not until after I'm done and can evaluate, well, how did I do? Okay, well then how can I get better? Okay.
Yeah.
And you just do what you enjoy. And I enjoy natural bodybuilding. I enjoy public relations. I mean, my career path has trained me to be a spokesperson, but I don't know that there was ever that aha moment where I was like, yeah, I'm really good at this, because, I work at it. I practiced it. I would never just, wake up and be like, I've got this on lock. I continually want to improve what I do. And it's still, like you said, you're always growing, you're always learning. And I feel like that's me every single day. But if someone calls me up tomorrow and says, hey, Desiree, do you want to MC a dance competition? I'll be like, well, I don't know anything about it, but I'll try.
Yeah.
Help me out, give me the cliff notes, but if you're in a bind, I'll get out there and help you out.
Oh yeah, if you need a last minute replacement, I'll give it a shot. I'll get out there and
Yeah.
be better than what I normally could be.
And then from there, you just never know. You're like, hey, I really like this, I want to learn more, so let's see what else I can do.
And somebody's got to do it. And even if you're nervous about it, you're going to go out there and do it anyway. So you might as well do it with confidence. Kind of like I tell competitors a lot of the time, they're nervous behind the curtain, but you're going to walk out on stage,
Yes.
and you're going to be out in front of the audience. So at least look confident, act confident, even if you're feeling nervous. And generally, once you get up on stage, the nerves go away and you just kind of forget how nervous you were.
Exactly.
And you mentioned how to get better too. You always want to get better. And it's important, I think, to be open-minded to want to get better. Not everybody's like that. They think they already got it because they've got so much experience. But if you limit yourself and you think you already know it all and you don't think you can get better because you got so much experience, you're putting a ceiling on what you could become. You know what I mean? So I'm always asking people what I can do better too. And I critique myself a lot. I don't think I do a great job. And then sometimes when you mess up behind the podium, it's not really noticed. What organizations have you MC bodybuilding shows for?
I have, oh my gosh, OCB and NGA.
Yeah.
The main two. And you know what? You bring up a good point, because you're gonna make mistakes. And I made a big one time, really big. I called an athlete on stage for a top 5. And I had to correct that, and I felt terrible. I felt so bad.
Yeah.
But you can't let the fact that you could make mistakes get in your way, because it will happen, but it's how you react in that moment. So it has its challenges for sure.
Well, you learn from those moments. I don't know how many shows I've emceed. I'm guessing over 50. I haven't really counted, but it's up there somewhere. And there was one time I called the wrong first place competitor because it was in a new organization. The score sheets looked different. And I guess I didn't familiarize myself with the score sheets before I called out the top 5. But we got it corrected right then and there. But I've seen it done before where you call out the wrong first place and he gets third instead of first. You read the score sheet wrong. They file off stage. They're partying with their family. They're eating their cake already. And then they got to be brought out back to the stage again just to redo the top 5. I've seen that happen before.
Oh, my goodness.
So there's been
I would make my heart stop.
But I mean, if you're an MC and you make that mistake once, you're going to learn from it and you're going to be on your toes. It's never going to happen again, because once that happened, it actually made me better because it made me more aware, of what's in front of me, and to get really familiar with the score sheets for sure.
Yeah, and it was exactly that kind of situation. So I always make sure I understand where my eye needs to travel and where the results are, because those score sheets, man, they'll get you.
Yeah, definitely. Because at the time I was so used to the INB score sheets, and then it was my first DFAC show, and I felt really bad, but we got it corrected right there on stage, so it was fine. But ever since then, that show made me a better MC because I was more aware of everything. Let's talk about your competition history real quick. I mean, you've competed as well. You've been busy in recent years, but I actually judged you. The first time I seen you, I was judging you, and you were one of those competitors right after the show. You came and asked me, why did I get third place? And you're open-minded. You wanted to learn what you can do better, and I told you, and you took it and went and worked on it. Let's talk about your competition history and what you've done.
All right. So, I started competing I should have looked this up before the show, but I think it was back around 2014, 2015. I was in my late 30s and I was still a gym owner at that point in time. And one of my members was a competitor and they're like, you know what, you could do this, Desiree. You should totally do this. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. But I knew that I had some health goals that I wanted to achieve and I just wasn't getting there. So this was my catalyst. This is when I flipped the switch and I did my first show, placed top 5 and just fell in love with it. And I competed for probably at least 3 years before I cracked that pro card. Nuts. And it was continually a process, continually growing. Because when I started, I was self-coached all the way. And there are a lot of athletes that self-coach and they do fantastic. I just wasn't one of them. And then when I finally brought on a nutrition coach, that's when things really started to change for me. I am a pro card holder, or was, because since I haven't competed in a while, some of that has probably lapsed. And that's something you pros need to pay attention to across different organizations. So just throw that out there, side note. But my first pro card was in the master's class. Actually, I've earned a pro card twice in the master's class, one for the IFPA, it was back then, which is now the IPE. So one there, one in the OCB. And then I earned a pro card in the open for the IPE. In bikini is where I compete.
Okay, good. You ever compete as a pro?
Not yet.
Okay, good. So that's still on the horizon. Then it's on the back of your mind, something you want to get done at some point, right?
This year. This August.
Yeah. Oh, you're competing this year?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. What show are you looking at?
I am looking at competing at the Midwest Legends Classic, which is the USBF. It's a newer organization you guys might be hearing about. So Jack Halverson is promoting that show.
Okay, where's that located at? That's not in Peoria, is it?
No, I believe it's in Washington, Illinois.
Washington, it's in Illinois. Okay, so it's kind of, that's right next to Peoria. Okay, so cool. So right in that area, it's only 2.5 hours away from me. Good stuff. I think I'm going to be there too. You know,
probably will be there.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be at that show. So I get to see you on stage. See, I'm getting the response for the first time. Just as the viewers are hearing this, news to me too. I didn't know we were going to see Desiree on stage this year. So what about after that? If things go well, do you want to do a world championship show, or do you just want to go by that one show at a time and see what happens, or is anything else?
This show I'm doing because I committed to it. I said I would, and so I'm going to. My why for my journey, my health and wellness journey, is changing a little bit. So I am feeling far more passionate about spreading the word and championing health and wellness than I am about my first show coming off a 3-year hiatus. So knowing my competitive nature, if it doesn't go the way that I would be hopeful for, you'll probably see me back. When? I don't know, but it'll probably be in short succession because that's how I tend to do things. So probably that following spring, depending on how many major changes I really need to make. Because I tell you what, these pro bikini competitors, they are tough. They are looking fabulous. I mean, any pro bikini competitor in my book, and you can argue with me, is an amateur figure competitor these days. Bikini is not what it used to be. They are filling out, rounding out, popping everywhere, still not full lats and all of that, but you're seeing more bikini competitors coming in with lats. And so it's starting to be a really fine line between bikini and figure. And so I'm just interested to continue to see the way this goes. And it depends on the organization. There are some organizations where you still have a softer look that wins, but there are several where that hard look, man, it's there and they're looking for it. So I don't know, Mike. I don't know.
Yeah, I can see your point on that because bikini's been around for a while now. And when it first came out, it was a softer look. And there were some girls that could hold water and have higher body fat, but hey, we're going for a softer look and they might do well. But then as time went on, you had to get more conditioned and more conditioned and more conditioned. And now I don't know how many years it's been here for, but the conditioning just keeps getting better at every single show, every single year as the years go on. So you're not so soft like you were 10 years ago in bikini anymore.
No.
And the bar keeps getting raised
until
somebody crosses it and then competes in bikini. What do you think about the winning female bodybuilder competing in figure? Though usually the winner of figure division could be the winner of the bodybuilding division if she crossed over, but she chooses not to. Why do women not want to compete in bodybuilding when they would win?
I don't know. And I don't know. And I think what we really need is better clarification of what the difference is between classes. I know I'm unpopular for my stance on crossovers. I don't feel like if you win bikini that you should also be able to win figure. I feel like those are totally different body types, should be two different physique types. It shouldn't be able to happen. And whereas if you win figure, depending on who shows up, so we all understand, right? It all depends on who shows up on that given.
Yeah, exactly. I was just thinking that.
And the physique they bring to the stage. Because if you won figure and then you do cross over to bodybuilding and the other bodybuilding competitors, they just didn't bring their A game. They didn't do it. Then you could potentially win, but it shouldn't be that way. I mean, it should be bodybuilding, should be figure, it should be, or women's physique, however you want to level, and then bikini. It should be not those blurred lines. But the caveat is who showed up, what type of physique did they bring, what package did they bring? Because if they didn't earn it, then you can't give it to them, even though you have a crossover. So that's where I stand on that. But I think it's kind of fear, or again, misinformation, not understanding what you need to be a full-blown women's bodybuilding competitor. Some may think I'm just not big enough. I'm not striated enough. So I'm just not going to go there. And, when the truth of the matter is we have some phenomenal physique competitors that should be bodybuilders, but they're not there. And part of it is, some of us, we just like where we are and we don't want to move up. We found our niche. That's what we love. And so that's where we want to compete. But I really don't know. I hate to see that category die. I really would love to see more competitors in women's bodybuilding.
Yeah. Some shows are better than others. Some shows push it more than others. I think a lot of women just like the figure because they can be more feminine, maybe, if you're just a raw iron lifter and your makeup or the heels, then I can see that kind of woman wanting to do bodybuilding show. But some women just want to feel like feminine women and they do figure because of the heels and the glam and the bling and the makeup and the hair. You know what I mean? Maybe that's part of it too. But yeah, if we want to keep women's bodybuilding alive, we need more to compete in women's bodybuilding. So come on now.
Yes, come on, girls, come on. And things have changed. Like back when I first started, female bodybuilders couldn't have the glam. They couldn't have it at all. But now there's more of that being incorporated into that. So you can still very much show your feminine side and still be at that upper level. And don't let female bodybuilders are going to look manly. It's not true unless it's an enhanced female bodybuilder, and that's because of the enhancement. The natural female body, you will never look manly. If your man is insecure because your muscles are bigger, then he needs to come to the gym with you, but you do not look manly.
You don't got to give into his ways, make him give into your ways. You know what I mean?
Right.
If you want to eat healthy for dinner and he wants to eat pizza, instead of you giving into his ways, make him give into your ways.
Or just let him eat his pizza aside from you, and then you guys come back together later.
Yeah, you can do that too. Just don't tempt me by asking me if I just want one piece and by telling me only one piece won't hurt. Come on now.
Yes.
Don't tell me all that. Just keep it to yourself. Nonetheless, any other final words you want to get out to the viewers? Any information you want to get out there we haven't talked about yet?
You know what, guys, just keep your eye on the prize. Your health is so very important. And there are a lot of great coaches out there that are combining more of the holistic health approach to training. So I do want to give a shout out to Heather Owen. She's a great bikini competitor. She's also a great coach. And she's bringing in that more holistic line to make sure that your all over health stays in line while you are competing, because there are nuances to it and you just want to keep track of that. So natural bodybuilding, love it. If you're on the borderline, just cross over, just jump into it, get on a stage, figure out where you're at. If you don't think you're bodybuilding, level just yet, come join the transformation division, but get yourself moving, give yourself a goal and just do it. You're worth it. Your health is worth it. You know what? Let's do it.
Yeah, there's a class for everybody. So no matter what level you're at, we can find a class for you. One more thing, you brought up Heather Owens. That brings me into the posing because I've seen Heather take a girl that would have normally placed out of the top 5, and she catapulted up to 3rd place at last year's Natural Olympia figure division with one overnight session with Heather Owens. And that just tells me that if you just hire a posing coach, get your posing down, you might have the 5th or 6th best physique, but you might place 2nd or 3rd just with the posing, or you might have the 3rd best physique and place 1st just because you hired a posing coach. And even one session can make a difference. So let's talk about that real quick. What's your take on posing coaches, and who else do you got coming in for us?
Yeah, I'd say get one. I say it's critically important, and I would say this could almost be a whole nother show, but Mike, you are so right, that make or break you. You could have the best physique on the stage, but if you can't show it off to the point where judges can really see all the work that you've done, it's done you no good. So posing coaches, I mean, you can watch videos, but really when you have that coach right there next to you, that's like, okay, just raise your elbow this much. Okay, bring your shoulders back just this much. Okay, put the pop this way, or, someone that can really be there and just help you figure out what is going to showcase your body the best, because every physique is different. Narrow waist, wide waist, it all plays into your posing and how you show it off. So do invest in it. It's very important. Just building the muscle is really only one part of the equation. Your food is really only one part of the equation. If I had a tripod, then your stage presence and your posing, that's what brings it all together. And you really can't neglect that part of it if you want to do well.
Yeah, you can't just bring the best physique to the stage. You know how to show it off in front of the judges. Almost every single show, I see a competitor lose because of his posing, because he thinks he has the best physique. But it doesn't matter if you have the best physique. Can you show it off properly on stage? Go to at least one posing seminar this year. They're out there. They're all over the place. Follow this page, Inside Natural Bodybuilding. We usually post them here. Contact Heather Owen. Matt Burtis is another good posing coach.
Very good.
Jacob Pomeroy is another one. But just get a posing coach, and it'll help your placings. You'll probably place 2 places higher just because you took a posing lesson. So until next time, this has been Desiree and Fletcher Caruthers. I'm Mike Newman, and you've been watching Inside Natural Bodybuilding. Talk to you guys next week.